FY22 and 23, well, 22 now, but for the 23 budget. I've given you a couple of breakouts. And before I get started, though, I would like to introduce, I got Leslie Brewer, who is our Chief Financial Officer. And then I also have Patrick Levine, who is our Chief Operations Officer. Which
Thank y'all for coming.
appreciate them coming. All right, if you can, we'll start with the very first one. It's Department of Marine Resources, the FY23 state appropriation budget. If you look on the first page there, if you look at FY21, and you'll see that we had $1,041,609 for state appropriated funds, and then in 22 was $1,079,426. You'll see a number of $1,419,643 for FY23. The reason for that is because we had to have the 3% raise that was given to us by y'all last year, and it implemented on January the 1st of this year. So that 3% is in there, and we have to be able to take up for the 3%. Now, also, if you look at the line below that, the FCC squared, if we ask for the minimum, and that's what we've been told to basically put down the numbers, what it would take to get us the minimum, that would be another $397,101. And then to be able to get us up to FCC squared market salaries, to be able to get it to market where we're at, or a little bit above for some of the people, would be another 2.78 million. And then, of course, we've been given the $3,050,000 every year for the off-road fuel tax. That's our state appropriation. Now, I want you to understand before you think about this, we're one of the state agencies that would be a one-time money that we're talking about being that number. And it's not like a reoccurring every year that we would have to have that amount additional. Because what will happen is once we work off about 75% of our people get paid by grants, or either federal, grants or federal projects. So what we would be able to do is when our new projects come in, we could add that increase in the salary, and we could add it, as it comes in, and that'll take us about 2 more years. So by 25, we would be cleared with it. That point to where we'd have probably 60% or better of that money would go away. And we would only need, instead of needing about $3.5 million to get to where we're at, where the market was about maybe $1 million, somewhere in that neighborhood closer. So we're luxury of having the numbers that but the problem is our contracts are already there with the state federal agencies. And so we can't increase them. We have to wait till the next contract comes up and increase it with that.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. You want to sit up here?
Hey, sir.
How you doing, Joe?
All right. And but so what I'm getting at is if you look at it, it sounds like a lot to start with, but if we're talking FY23 money. If you went to that point, and we realize that we're asking for a lot, but if it's FY23, if you go for it and you get there, then in FY24 we would probably be able to cut it a third, and then FY25 another third. So we could probably have it down to where instead of the 3.5 million, around $1 million, the only additional it would be. And I think if you also notice that we're probably the very smallest agency in the state of Mississippi with the amount of people we have for appropriated funds that we get. There's $1 million. It's not very much. And we appreciate every dime we get, and we appreciate y'all helping us. But we also like to do everything we can to make the federal government or someone else pay for it, and still be able to do what we need to do in marine resources. There's one other thing we need to look at. It's coming down. There's some talk about the possibility of the $3,050,000 for the off-road fuel tax being put back into DOT and taken away from us. If that happens, it would really destroy our as far as Marine Patrol. That's a lot of our money, what we pay the Marine Patrol officers with. Hopefully that the way it's being pushed back and forth on it, I don't know where it's going to wind up, but if it goes to that point, and that's what it has to happen, I've been told that they would appropriate the money and appropriations for that to be able to take it. So I don't know if anything about it, and certainly you may know a lot more than I do, but
So
well, I think
this is news to me. What are we talking about? Off-road sales tax that may go back to
DOT.
I don't know anything about that. We'll deal with it.
Okay.
Okay.
If
One
it
way or
comes
another.
up, y'all,
It goes into their special fund.
Right.
yeah, the only thing about it is, whatever happens, we need the money to operate.
Absolutely.
You know, that's all I'm bringing it up for.
Those boats
not-
don't run on air.
I'm not trying to tell the Senate or the House how to operate the budget. I'm just asking that, please
Okay.
don't take my money away from me. If you want to give it to me a different way and it works, that's one thing, but.
Okay.
Just don't take it away from us again, all right? And then if you look at it, so basically the salary and wages in the off-road fuel would go to 7.6, which is like, as I told you, it's a more of a one-time, and obviously that's if we went to SEC squared market and some above. And so that's just to give you the idea of where we're at. And I'll give you a better breakout on that in a few minutes, if that's okay. All right, if you look at the salaries on the next page, number of positions, you'll see that in FY21, we had 183, in FY22, 179, and then in FY23, we're asking for 187. And the reason for that is I'll break it down a little bit for you. We're needing 5 additional pins in Marine Patrol. 4 of them are for port security. And port security is a grant that we agreed to do about 3 years ago. And at the end of 2 years, we would be able to take it over. And this is coming up on that. This next year will be the year we have to take it 100%. And right now we're trying to do it with piecemeal, which is not working. But we need to be able to hire 4 new Marine Patrol officers to be able to do the port security. This was a grant given to us by Homeland Security before, and the agreement was that we would fund it afterwards. And this is being able to port Pascagoula and the Gulfport port to be able to guard both of those. And they're doing a great job, and it's a great asset. They bought us the boats, they bought us the equipment and everything else to go to operate with. And so that's what the additional pins that we're looking at.
How many vacancies do you have?
Out of the 189,
Yeah.
it depends on the day of the week. You know, one day we operate on a normal basis. If we like in 179, obviously the COVID years, you know, a little bit different because we're not as many people hiring and new people or doing anything additional. But this year we also need to add some pins for. It's going to be the near, and these are escalated pins that are 100% federally funded. It does not cost us a dime. The state of Mississippi, it's going to be 100% federally funded with it. And when I say that, it's a 70-30, but we do that out of the title, and so we're covered with that. So I don't want to mislead you by saying 100%. I want you to understand. 100%.
How many of those you're looking at?
Three additional.
Now, see the 3 here.
And then one additional for, and then we need one additional pin for Marine Patrol because the numbers, you know, we're getting to where we're having to guard more every day and do more every day. And we're trying to do it with a little over 40 officers right now. And we definitely need to be able to keep it. And as far as the number of pins that on Leslie, do you know the actual number that we have funded? 165, 175? 175 was the number of the day, I remember. $11 at this time. And that's because some people have left and we're hiring people to go into them.
Okay, so you have 3 that are federal, right?
Right.
All right,
And
now
then 5 to the state.
5 to the state.
That goes from 179 to 187.
Okay.
And these are, as I said, Marine Patrol officers, and it's 5 of them are, and the other are working with the NEAR, and the NEAR is in a federal contract. All right. If you look at the next page, you will see that the total budget, and obviously in FY21, you can't look at the numbers down there where it says $16 million and say, well, you know, you're asking for 97 million. We're asking for 97 million in authority, and not in the budget itself, because we're looking at about 60 million of that being in Go Mesa that are sitting out there, that the projects that are being, you know, funded and being operated. We've got Thailand's project that we'll show you on the next page also being operated. And it's just anything that we have, a majority of it is for things that are that are there already. And we have the funding for it. We're not really needing any more money. We just need to be authority to be able to spend it when the time comes. And obviously, we work the Tidelands and through that House and Senate, give us some numbers of what we need to do with it. And then as far as the Go Mesa, we work that to where we get it appropriated through the Senate, the House, and the bill.
Right.
Okay. And so that's basically what we're looking at there. Nothing really big changing other than that. If we don't know the FY22 numbers, final numbers right now, so I can't give them to you because until the end of June. And so then we would know what we're looking at.
I'll get the chairman. At some point here, you can make a deeper dive on it.
Thank you. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right. So basically, if you go to the last page, what we're asking for is really in the additional appropriations for it is 3.5 million. And that's, once again, that's getting us to the FY23 for the SEC squared and the additional fees. That's the only thing that we're looking at.
So you're asking for 12,226,000?
That's you're looking at titles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You said the last page.
Yeah, that you skipped one on.
Okay, hi.
Yeah, that page is where we're at, and that will get you where we're at as far as the number of pins that we need. It also talks about that, and then it talks that's including the money that we need to do SEC squared. That's if you fund the whole thing. Okay.
All righty.
Now, the next page that you were looking at is Tidelands. And Tidelands is not a big change in that. There's a small amount. If you look at it, it's almost identical FY22 to.
Just turn it down. Turn it about 65 in here. It's hot in here. Turn it to the right.
It came from 216, it's freezing in there.
It must be all that.
There
hot
you
air
go.
now.
Go ahead. Thank you, sir. Okay, go ahead.
All right. If you look at Tidelands, it's pretty much the same as it was last year. It's what we're asking. We don't know the funding. We don't know how much we'll get. That Secretary of State will give us that number, and that'll come out probably in the next few months. That they'll tell us what the number is.
Usually around 11 something.
Yeah, and it might even be bigger this year because we had like 3 different of the casinos that they gave an extra year to pay the money, and so that was all paid last year. So we might see a little bit more money. So it might be 12 million plus, but this is just a number that we asked for with Tidelands. Obviously, as you see, you'll give us the projects, and they'll say that for the public access projects, and they'll be on the books for a long time because it takes them a long time to get them all done. That'll be set in there, and then plus we'll have it's a little over $4 million. I think we asked for the agency to be able to operate the agency, and that operates our matching funds with a lot of the federal funds, like the NEAR and with our heritage, and then also it allows us to run the Lyman Fish Hatchery and some other options.
Right.
Okay. Any questions on that part of the briefing?
No, sir.
All right. Next is our pins. If you look at it, just to give you a breakdown on the pins itself, here's a piece of paper that you can look at it, and it shows what we're talking about. It shows the number of part-time, number full-time, and it also shows that we need 4 security that'll be escalated for the Marine Patrol. Now, these are slots that are there. We don't need an additional pin for them. They're there. We just need to fund the pin.
That's what I was asking a while ago. So there's 4 vacant.
Yeah, there's 4.
That's what I was
Okay,
getting
missed
at a
what
while
you
ago.
said.
Okay, that's
I'm
what I
sorry.
thought. That's what I had 4
Okay.
vacant
All
and
we're
needed 3
asking
new.
for is 1 additional pin. in the
Okay,
Marine Patrol.
all right.
Okay.
Above the 4?
Yeah, one
So you
one
want a total
above
of
the 4.
5.
The 4 are there. The pins are there. We need to fund those 4 pins because they're unfunded at this time, and then we need 1 additional pin. That's why it brings it up. Okay. Any questions on that part of it? If not, the last page, you'll see that it talks about the retention of the pins a little bit to give you an idea of why we need them. And if you look at the second paragraph, the science lab, we built a science lab there that cost us about $800,000. We used Go Mesa money to do it. And that lab is going to save us about $100,000 a year. And so it's obviously going to pay for itself in a short period of time because of that. And we're able to also use it to the point to where the people working in the lab can work in other projects of the agency also. So we get double duty out of them. And
Now tell me again, you spend how much to build it
800,
and how much do you think it'll save you per year?
about 100,000 a year. And we'll be able to turn out quite a lot more product as far as the water testing, and we'll also be able to do it a lot quicker.
Okay.
And so if we have a situation like happened in 2019, we can turn it just like that, and we won't have to wait, send it to lab and send it somewhere else to be done. We can turn it quickly.
Okay.
And it's going to help us a whole lot to be able to take care of to see what we actually have as far as water quality. And it's a big, and some of the pins are being used for that. And as I said, we're using them, and off bottom it's going big time. And we just accumulated 200 more acres that we have permitted in the same area. So we're going to be able to increase the off bottom some to the point to where we can, it's even shallower water, so it costs a lot less to operate it. And plus in our 2019 Bonnie Carey funds, we have about a 1.7 million in it out of that Bonnie Carey fund for disaster, to be able to put some more product out, to be able to help the off bottom by putting a barge there and having a tumbler, so they don't have to bring them in and tumble it and take it back out. So it's also time consuming and help them to do it. And we're working with another project to be able to build a better cage, because some of the cages that we have now, their average life is about 3 years. And when you talk, it costs a couple of $100 for a cage to be able to outfit it. And then plus it gets beat up in any of the big storms or anything else, or even the small storms. If we get the new cages, which are a lot better built, then we'll be able to use those. And they even come with a remote up and down. The new cage that we're talking about is going to be able to do it where we can remotely raise the cages and you'll be able to, we can put some type of a repeater on Deer Island area, or even on the barge, and they'll be able to do it sitting there from the shore.
How about that?
And it's all to make it better, and we're working on it every way we can. Any questions on any of the others?
No, sir.
All right. The last thing that you have here is just a breakdown of the SEC squared mainly, and of what we're looking at. It's the white pages, and it just shows you the total amount. We have what we need for district, which 183 is what we're looking at the funding as total people, and you'll see the numbers how they're broken out. If you got a question, one of the things in SEC squared, I don't know how familiar you are with it, but SEC squared says, okay, you got where they're at today, right? Then you got a minimum salary, then you got a market salary.
You're on this page here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But I'm just talking really the page after that to give you a little bit more to it.
What is SEC squared?
That's the realignment that it was done by personnel for the state of Mississippi, and they went in. It's a colonel, I can't remember his last name. He was a colonel that did it. It was named after him. He had an agency. They went in and set it up and basically realigned all the employees in the state of Mississippi. I think IHL was left out of it, and maybe there might have been one or two others, but it was mainly the employees of the state to say, where are they at in relationship to what the economy, the local economy is paying, or anyone else. And that's basically what it amounted to. And in a situation like, if you think about us, we got science. Majority of our people are in the science world, either law enforcement. And just to give you an idea of the law enforcement, in Gulfport, Mississippi today, or Biloxi, for us to hire a new law enforcement officer and put them on the street, in the water, and helping us as far as we have to bring them in, send them to academy, do the training, and then we turn around. A lot of times we lose them right to the city of Biloxi or right to the city of Gulfport or somewhere else because they're paying more money than we are for a junior officer. We need to be able to compete. I was told the other day that the city of Oxford starts theirs out at $47,000 a year. And I think Biloxi's in the 40s, mid 40s is what they start. So it's just tough to be able to keep an officer. You can't blame an officer for getting, to get more pay for what they do.
How does that relate to y'all's beginning pay?
Ours is about 38. Is that right, Patrick? 38 is what we have now. And if we get this if the SEC squared goes in and it gets it to market, it'll be in the mid 40s. And so they'll get it to the point, and so it's not like we're asking, the program is pretty good. The program's real good. It came back and realigned everyone to say, this is where we're at, this is where we need to be able to keep our people in the state. And I mean, you think of a scientist, we lose them every day to either a company or we lose them to a IHL or something else, and because of the situation that we just can't pay them. When you got a master's degree with 8 or 10 years experience and you only paying them $45,000 a year, they just ain't gonna get there. We need to bring them up to where they need to be. If you look at just to give an idea, I'll throw in, we got the chief of Marine Patrol makes around $70,000 a year. The chief of the law enforcement in the small cities there is making hundreds.
Yeah.
And so, we're definitely well underpaid as far as I tell them all the time, they remind me of law enforcement firemen are either in the emergency medical field or military. They're not doing it because of money. They're doing it because they love what they're doing and they're trying to be a great thing for the state. And we need to keep them. This would be a great way to serve y'all.
Okay. All right, what else?
So if you look at that, if you just look at that page, it'll give you an idea. Under SEC squared, like I said, you have the minimum, then you have market, and then you have what you call zone 1, 2, and 3. Well, zone 1 is your person that just starts out. So you want to get them to a certain salary. They're young and they're inexperienced, and you got to do it. Zone 2 is more experienced person. A zone 3 is a little bit more experienced, and a zone 4, which we don't have any on our record, is basically like you've been here for 50 years. And, we just need to take care of you, and because you got so much knowledge.
All right.
But that's pretty much it. I don't know if there's anything else that you need from me.
And well, I'm gonna open up the questions. Any of you have any questions? We like I said, I'm gonna meet with Chairman Hobson, and you'll be back up. We'll sit down, the three of us, and go over this some more.
Yeah.
And get right down, hash it out here a little bit further down the line. We're gonna try to help you every way we can. We'll just have to see where the money falls and what we can do.
We understand totally, sir, and we understand that. And one good part about the EMR that maybe you can look at in the part. I know that the state is sitting here with a lot of money right now, right? But we don't know that it's going to be reoccurring money.
It's not.
All right. So
It's not.
to go in and say that we're going to give all these raises and give them that reoccurred money
No.
is a different thing. But at DMR, we're talking 60 to 70% of it be paid for by the federal.
And
after a couple
we
years.
do keep that in mind. Thank y'all so much. Yes, sir.
This SEC squared.
Whole state except for I know IHL's out
That's
of
a
it.
lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot
It's everybody but the colleges,
Several million.
the veterans.
Every one of these I've been in, that's one of the things they're talking about.
Education, I think,
They're talking about SEC square, and every one of them is thousands and thousands more, which adds up to millions more. So, yeah.
First time you heard that term.
I never thought about it. I never heard SEC square.
It was actually passed last year in the last session.
Yeah, my first time
You
did
have
it.
that terminology too.
Well, it's
But
a,
only in
I don't-
the bill.
My first one of these meetings, I'm like, what the hell?
I don't know what the number is. I was told, and I once again, I'm not saying this as being the correct, but I was told that we it would take about 25 million to get us to minimum for the state. That was the number I was given.
Right up, just pull it to you. All right, sir.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of this committee.
State your name.
My name is Nick Ivy. I was appointed in July of this year to take over Mark Gilbert's place as the Executive Director for the Soil and Water Commission. And I look forward to working with you guys to make sure that we can get the money that we need to do what we got to do.
Okay, sir.
You'll see on this list, I'm not going to I'm not going to go into very depth on this, but I just wanted to go over a few of our programs that we have. We have 2 statutory programs at the Soil and Water Commission. Our first one is district assistance, where we provide assistance to the 82 soil and water conservation districts throughout the state, the 410 soil and water district commissioners, and the 107 employees of those districts to help them carry out what is the powers granted to them by the Mississippi Code. We also have a surface mining program where we serve as a liaison through Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality. What we do is we look at the surface mining that they're permitting on the front end to make sure that their reclamation process is adequate. And we also look at it on the back end and go do visual inspections to make sure that they have done what they said they were going to do in the reclamation process before those bonds are sent back to those companies. Special funds programs. The first one is our water quality program. This is, for the most part, is our 319 program, which is money through EPA that comes to Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality. They chose us to be the implementers of their projects, and what we do is work with DEQ to go look at and identify watersheds throughout the state of Mississippi that are impaired and figure out how we can fix them. Once we've identified those watersheds that need fixing on their impairments, we prioritize them with the money that they have, and then we go out on a 60-40 basis cost share with landowners in those watersheds to put conservation on the ground to try to fix the impairments that are going on in those watersheds. This next one is the Mississippi Watershed Rehabilitation and Repair Program. This is funded through bond issues passed by the legislature in the past. We currently have about $3 million in bond money right now. What we do is we work with the local sponsors on the watershed districts that are in charge of these federal watershed dams that were built by the federal government in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And we use that money to make sure that they have the match money that they need to get federal funds to fix those dams when that money is available. And they usually ask for 35% to match the federal dollars. The federal watershed rehabilitation program, which was funded through the 14 and 18 farm bills, they make funds available for upgrading PL 566 and 534 dams. We have a lot of them in Mississippi. And basically, in a nutshell, what that is when these dams were built years ago, there was nothing in those inundation zones except croplands. And over the years, schools, houses, churches, all different things have been built in those inundation zones. And because that triggers DEQ to have to upgrade that to high hazard because the loss of property and life that may happen if that dam were to be flooded, it would cause a flood. So we use our money, the state program along with the federal program to rehab those. Basically, we're raising the dams higher, building them with stronger materials so that there's the mitigating the risk of the flooding in those areas. I will say that these 2 programs together are really at the forefront right now of what we're doing water quality wise, and that is because of about $115 million that's coming through the infrastructure bill in the federal government that's going to be available just for these dams. We have already got about we got 15 dams that we know that we want to do with this. Probably we have to submit by the 13th of February, our list to the federal government to say which dams that we want to put on the list to spend that money on. We think there'll probably be 25 of those dams that are going to be on that list. That there's more than that, but that's our priorities. And so We currently have enough bond money for 6 to 8 dams, and that'll get us through this fiscal year and probably some of next year. But in the appropriations process next year, we will be looking for bond funds to get that local match, to get those federal funds to come into the state. There's going to be a lot of need for those matching funds to be able to get those federal dollars to flow. And I will say that Texas, Oklahoma, Mississippi, and West Virginia have the majority of the watershed dams in the state, are in the country. Mississippi has more dams in the state than any other state in the country, and by a large number. We're having an annual meeting right now. Actually, it's going on. We had someone from DEQ speak today, and I think we've got about 2,500 dams more than any other state in the country. So there's a lot of dams in Mississippi. All that is from the most of them are along the bluff hills that come out of they go into the Mississippi Delta. And so they built a lot of those dams to prevent flooding for the Delta, for the croplands in the Delta. But now there's other things besides cropland that are built around those that are causing needs for high hazard upgrades. So that is at the forefront of what we're doing. We also have about 15 contracts with the USDA, Natural Resources Conservation Service, contribution agreements and that kind of thing, where we're doing various different things to put conservation on the ground. One of the biggest ones is the Carter Rocky Backwater Levee that we're trying to get built. That is approximately 32 miles. The length is changing on a weekly basis because they're changing the designs, but about 32 miles of backwater levee. It's not these big levees that you're used to seeing, but this is a smaller levee that would, for some reason, the Corps of Engineers built hundreds of miles of these, but they stopped at the very end and left the last portion of it unbuilt a long time ago. And so we're trying to get that done because around the Satartia area, there's a lot of flooding, and Yazoo City, up through Yazoo City, they get a lot of flooding from this most years actually, but in the last couple of years, they've had some really bad floods. So this would fix that. This is approximately $125 million project that we have money coming through the federal government to do. We're in the process of getting easements. The design is done, and we'll be working on those easements. We hope to turn dirt. It'll be in phases, 3-mile phases, because you can't do that large of a project at one time, but it will be in phases, and hopefully we'll turn dirt before the end of this fiscal year. That is one of our big projects, but those NRCS agreements total $125 million that's coming through us. And there are some information about those other agreements on there if you'd like to read through there. Mr. Chairman, our request for general funds for the Soil and Water Commission, we're requesting an increase in $89,005 from the previous year. This would bring our agency back to FY22 general fund appropriation levels. We do have 4 vacant pens that we have been trying to fill. And so the natural resource specialist position is the majority of those, and we are having some pretty major issues with turnover. We hire 2, hire 3, and lose 2 within 2 or 3 months. Somebody that's got an environmental engineering degree making $30,000 a year, you just can't keep them.
No.
And so we tried several years to get these positions filled, to be able to fund them. We have not gotten appropriation level enough to fill all of those pens in the past. So, and I've looked, since I've taken over the agency, I've really looked at how to fix that problem, because we spend a lot of time training these folks, spending our time, state's money to train them up and then send them off to some agent, some other, entity that's going to use them. So I've decided that I really believe if we've got 4 unfilled pens that Elbow is recommending that we be taken from us, what I would like to, my ask is that we get 1 pen of those 3 back, and that be a higher level position. I believe that the name has changed since this SEC squared stuff has come along, but it was an environmental administrator 1 position. It has a new name now, but if we can hire at that level, which starts about $46,000 a year, I believe that I can keep people in that position and do the work of at least two of it, because those folks are going to have a lot more knowledge on what they're doing. We don't have as much training that we have to do, and the level of pay is higher. I believe that we can keep those easier. So I'd love to have all four of them. I don't know that that will happen, but really when it comes to our agency and what we need is we need one of those positions at an environmental administrator level rather than that lower level. And that would, I believe that would fill our needs for the agency, and we would have a full, all of our general fund pins at that point would be filled and hopefully stay filled. Special fund requests of 25,027,750. Those are the 536,401 is in special funds to pay for our special fund positions. That's money that we use to pay those positions, and then the other portion, the 24,491,349, is the federal funds that we anticipate expending through those agreements that I talked about earlier. So I talked about, I've already, that request that I mentioned about those pins and having that one instead of the four is a change in the request since we submitted our budget request. I also have another request that the Natural Resources Conservation Education Fund, that is a fund that was set up by the legislature. There's $125,000 in that account. It is set up for our agency to be able to spend that money on educational items that we deal with mostly school age children and teach them things. And we need, we failed to get a line item appropriation last year to be able to spend the money that's in that account. And so what I'm asking for is $100,000 in authority to spend that money out of that fund. And that there's about 125,000 in there. What we do is try to buy a bulk. We have a Sammy soil coloring book that we use as an educational tool all over the state. We have for years. And what we do is it's not, that wouldn't be an every year type of spend, but we can get a lot more of those if we buy them in bulk. So we want to buy $50,000 worth of those coloring books, $26,000 to purchase some bee boxes that are another educational tool that we use to teach children and other folks about pollinators. And then 24,000 of those dollars would be to train the employees and the teachers and all the different entities that will be using those tools so that they can properly put that information out. So the only other request that I have is, and it's not through this committee, but we usually have been getting $100,000 a year in education enhancement funds through the education department. We use those funds to buy agricultural equipment that we buy for the districts, the 82 districts in the state, and they use that to teach farmers and landowners how to use no-till type practices to be able to conserve soil and what we're trying to do. So that was cut, I believe, last year to $75,000. And
Now the no-till drills and stuff with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
We buy no-till drills, any kind of, it's set up to buy conservation type equipment.
Mhm.
And these districts, they take that out and let landowners, they teach them how to use it, they can rent the equipment and that kind of thing.
I've done that before, so that's
Okay, yes, sir. And so one thing is that we've been cut $75,000. Another thing is that the cost of a John Deere no-till drill or any other drill for that matter has gone up significantly. And we expect that it will continue to go up in the next couple of years with the price of steel. A no-till drill is pretty much all steel. So we have got a backlog of 6 years worth of that equipment that is sitting on the books, requests there. And so we desperately need to get some of that money back in order to fill those requests and put that out to the district. So that does come through the education appropriations, but I did want to mention that while I was here because it is important to our agency and to those 82 soil and water conservation districts to teach landowners that may not know anything about that to get them on board with conservation practices.
okay.
So that is all I have. I'll be glad to answer any questions that y'all have for me, and I appreciate the time that you allowed me to.
Thank you, sir. We do appreciate it. Any questions? I think we're good. we thank you for coming today, and we'll certainly take all these requests into consideration and help you every way we possibly can.
Thank you so much.
Have a good
great
day.